find interesting, the real lost history in Lincoln and the oldest stuff we've got doesn't look fancy or historic or, something like that belongs in a museum at all. It sometimes just looks like a rock. It's that simple. Plain old rock sitting in a field or under a tree. Tonight, though, we're going to be talking about rocks with stories carved into them by the Nisenan tribe. The people who lived here for thousands of years before Lincoln was ever even a word. And, we're also going to talk about one young Nisenan a long time ago who walked up Auburn Ravine on what you and I would consider a vision quest. So this is going to be a good one, you guys. This is just a sliver of the native history of Lincoln, and, it's been under our feet this whole time. I'm talking about the real old timers, right? Until we came along. So picture Lincoln, not with roads and houses and constant construction, but totally different place. A place full of oak forests, deep flowing waters in the ravines, deer moving through tall grass, kids laughing at the creek while their parents worked nearby. The Nisenan weren't just around here, right? They lived here in a way we can't begin to understand. They thrived, their villages ran along the same waterways we've piped, paved, or turned into storm drains. So you probably even drove right by them 100 times and probably never even noticed it. Places like Auburn Ravine, Strap Ravine, Coon Creek, Turkey Creek, Dottie Ravine. These were important places back then. Let's talk about those weird holes in the rock, right? Those aren't old potholes, right? They're grinding stones, and this is a tabletop grinding stone, mortar and pestle. It also comes with a granite rock that you use, right, to chip your way into make a actual hole that they carved into it, right? Except they're not like this, they're gigantic boulders that they have. Each one is shaped by stone pestles, grinding grains, right? Acidic acorns, which, have like acidic tannins in them, or tannic acid, I'm sorry. The same motion was repeated for centuries, just chipping away at that rock and grinding. So if you or I tried that today, I'm willing to bet we would be giving up within 20 minutes. So the Nisenan did it for generations, though, right? I mean, if you think about that, a grandmother grinding here, her daughter grinding beside her, the kiddos running around circles and, eventually grinding in them too. That's a whole lineage carved into one giant stone. And Lincoln has them everywhere. So, all right, here comes the heart of our story, okay? There was a young Nisenan boy, and we'll call him Tamal, a name that had been used historically among all of the Maidu-speaking groups that means a symbolic place or a beginning of something symbolic. He was about 15 years old, a quiet kid, observant, felt things really deeply. And the day, came and his family sent him on a vision quest. Not as like a punishment or something, right? But more of like a rite of passage. A moment where the land talks louder than people do. Tamal walked up what we now call Auburn Ravine. Back then, it was just a dense and green with, nice cool flowing waters and fish moving like shadows through them. He carried almost nothing, a blanket, maybe a stone knife and his courage. That's about it. So, he found a granite boulder with old grinding holes carved deep across the top. A place worn, smooth by generations. It's been there forever. He sat there, he fasted, he listened, he waited. Nothing happened. No visions came to him. On the second night, the ravine changed. You know that sound of water, that it makes it dusk, that soft, steady sound of a river or creek rising against, new rocks. Okay. Tamal followed that sound, and he found a clearing where the granite rose like a bowl catching starlight. He placed his hand in an old grinding stone. It was smooth, warm, like the rock was remembering something. Then he didn't hear a voice, didn't see a spirit, didn't get a Hollywood-style prophecy. He just felt a deep, quiet drop throughout him. Quiet with a purpose. He understood his job wasn't to receive a vision, it was to continue one. So he picked up a small river stone and, tapped on that rock. He carved new cupula in the granite. Not big, not fancy, just one more note in a very old song. When his elders found him, they said he looked settled, certain, like someone who knew where he was going. Weak from fasting, of course, but still smiling, clear, certain. He added his small part to the story just by chipping into that rock. And then he went home, right? So history changed fast, and within a few decades, everything completely changed. By the 1850s, settlers were pouring into the foothills. The gold rush hit and brought disease, displacement, violence, the destruction of food sources, the Nisenan depended on for millennia. The Nisenan tribe was, shaken apart fast. It just kind of disappeared within a generation. They were just gone, right? So trails were forgotten, grinding stones were abandoned, and stories silenced. Tamal's people suffered greatly, right? Many did not survive. The continuity of cultural knowledge was fractured, if not lost completely. But the grinding stones, they stayed. Quiet, patient. Somewhere along that ravine, Tamal's little cupule in the granite still sits there today, unless it's buried under a retaining wall or a backyard. So most people in Lincoln have walked right past the grinding stone and never even realized it. Construction crews spot them, surveyors map them, archaeologists document them. So anyways, let's do a quick reality check, truth versus legend. Here's the true documented historical facts. The Nisenan occupied Lincoln region for thousands of years. Grinding stones, bedrock mortars, and cupules are documented across Auburn Ravine, Strap Ravine, Coon Creek, Turkey Creek, and 12 Bridges. Rock cupules are just artificially made depressions in rock surfaces. So this is a giant rock cupule. All right. Well, a giant one would be in a big boulder, but archaeological surveys confirm these sites before development projects. Vision quest traditions existed among many indigenous California groups, including those culturally linked to the Nisenan and Maidu. The ravines in Lincoln would have been an ideal site for solitude, fasting, spiritual reflection. The exact meaning of individual cupules are lost because of colonization disrupted oral traditions. Lore, narrative, and storytelling. This includes things like Tamal's story. It's not a documented biography. It's a respectfully constructed narrative based on known Nisenan cultural practices and Lincoln's geography. The second, night clarity and the act of carving a new cupule are storytelling elements that are used to give emotional continuity to the archaeological record. What remains are unknown still, right? Which grinding stones belong to which families or generations, the specific rituals or, prayers spoken at each site, whether a single cupule can be traced to a particular individual, how many more stones lie undiscovered beneath modern construction. A bowl hole is not just a term for a place you'll find grinding stones. So next time you're near a ravine and see a granite boulder with a round bowl in it, don't kick a rock at it. Just stop for a minute, right? And you're standing where families laughed and worked for thousands of years, where young people searched for meaning in life, and where someone like Tamal sat under the same sky we sit under right now. So Maybe that stone, the one thing you're looking at, is the only thing he carved. So you never know. Lincoln is young, but the land has stories older than anything we can build. All you got to do is listen. So thanks for watching another Strange Stories of Lincoln. Keep your eye out for the next episode. If you like this one, share it on YouTube or on Facebook with somebody who cares about our town or simply likes storytelling. So as always, I'm Mike Crossfield, a local business owner trying to build a stronger Lincoln together. Thank you. Good night.